I've done 24-hour runs. I've run London to Brighton. I've run Hadrian's Wall. And what I discovered, we always talked about hitting the wall, which was this mythical thing after about 20 miles in a marathon. I discovered in ultra running that it doesn't exist.
Alan Hackett is an experienced runner, but in recent years, life has thrown him more than a few curveballs.
It's actually carcinoma. It became more real because then they started talking about the options of having the full kidney removed or partial kidney removed or having robotic surgery or having keyhole surgery.
A crippling back injury followed by a diagnosis of kidney cancer have left Alan in a wheelchair, but the lessons he learned through ultra running are holding strong.
You just find the strength and the power to keep going. I've run 100k without stopping. That's been probably my proudest running achievement when I was up in Nottingham. And I just discovered that if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything you want. And I've just applied that to cancer.
Welcome to this week's episodes of Running Tales, and today I'm talking to Alan Hackett. We're at the race course in Northampton on a sunny day. Runners are out, social distancing.
I'm so jealous of people that can run. I really miss the actual, just the intensity of the experience.
And to our listeners, you are currently in a wheelchair, but let's start. When did your running tale begin?
Oh gosh, so I just turned 60 yesterday, that's the 26th of Feb, and I started way back, well before the first London Marathon, and running was just in its infancy then, and there was a very inspirational book that a lot of your older listeners might remember. It was called The Art of Running by Jim Fixx, and it was him that inspired me. And I remember wearing a pair of Dunlop Green Flash, which were the shoes that the tennis players used to wear. And I was so embarrassed at the time that I would only run where nobody could see me. And I would do laps and laps around the back green in Scotland where I lived. And I just gradually built it up and up. And then when I moved to Northampton for my teaching degree, I got in touch with the local running club, Northampton Road Runners. It was called the United Trades then. And back then, we weren't just joggers or runners, we were marathon runners. Because everything we did was geared to marathons, and the London Marathon, the Bolton Marathon, and the distances we were doing then were we would do 20 miles on a Sunday, just as a norm, so that was my baptism into running, and typical teacher, I can't join anything without taking it over. And I became the secretary of the club, and then for 20 years I was the chair. I only gave it up last year because of my back injury. I felt that I needed to let a fresh chair get in and rejuvenate the club, and it needed to be somebody that was passionate about running. I've still got links with the club, but I'm the life president, and I love the club, and I love running, and I really missed it. And I didn't realise how depressed that I was about not running.
So if I can stop you there, so our listeners understand, can you tell us why there was a change in your life suddenly and running was not in your life?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I can pinpoint it to a cross-country run about 4 years ago. I was in Dunstable with the club, and I was running from grass onto concrete, and all of a sudden it just felt like I was running with lead feet, and I had to walk, and after that I would then have to walk more and more often, and it was just incredible pain in my back. And after a long journey through the National Health Service and MRI scans, it was identified that my discs were deteriorating, and I was getting what was called stenosis of the spine, which is it's a horrible condition where the actual discs are then pushed into your nerve system and the column of your spine, and just gives incredible pain. So I had no option but to stop running. And for a long time, I was in denial. I thought, well, if I rest, I'll get better. But you don't get better.
No.
So inspired by Carol James, who I think you've interviewed on your podcasts, I was aware that wheelchair racing was a possibility, and I hesitated for a long time, because would I get a chair that was big enough for me? Because I'm quite big at the moment. I don't mind admitting that. And eventually I took the plunge. I got a chair. And again, just like when I first started running, I did it when nobody could see me. I was really ashamed because I was quite slow. And then, if you want to learn, you learn from other people. And I learned from Carol and you, Michelle, and your blogs and your website, and purchased what's called a freewheel, which is an attachment that you put onto the front of an ordinary wheelchair, and it gives you stability, it gives you additional speed. I mean, I've tipped up 3 or 4 times. I give myself quite a nasty back injury, so this gives you total security, total confidence, and I can't wait. I can't wait to, once lockdown's over, to I was so looking forward to doing Silverstone. I really wanted to.
Carol was the same.
Oh, and I was devastated when it was cancelled. And my son lives in Bristol, and I know that I'm getting better, because I'm now looking for races that are wheelchair friendly. And I saw one in Bristol, in Bath. It was actually, my son lives in Bristol, and it was called the Two Tunnels, and it was just
I know it.
And I so wanted to do it. And it was November, and I thought, well, I got the distance right, and I was ready for it. And then we went into lockdown, and I was so devastated. And then I thought, I've got to do a challenge. And when my operation was cancelled, I thought, what can I do? I'm 60 in February. Let's do something related to 60. 100k, 62 miles to 60. I was born on the 26th. I thought, do it in 26 days. And originally, I was born in 1961, so I set myself a negative target of 19 minutes per kilometre on average. But I worked it out, because I finished it now, thank goodness. And my average was 13 minutes. That shows you how fit I've become.
I've done really well.
I was so smashed, both the distance, and I was so afraid at the start, would I get injured? Would I get called into hospital halfway through it? That was my biggest fear. I've actually started thinking, please don't call me in for the operation, because I still wanted to finish. And then I thought, I wanted to be inspirational as well, so I called it the Tortoise and the Hare Challenge. And I was very much the tortoise, because I'm slow, but I was also aware that slow and steady wins the race. And the tortoise and the hare, that was the cancer.
Can we go into, we've got a few dogs in the background there, you can tell. Lovely park, sunny day. Keep it real on the podcast. You just mentioned cancer, and I want to touch on that subject, because you're not just dealing with the issue with your discs here. You have got kidney cancer.
Oh, and it was devastating when I first was diagnosed, because it was just surreal.
When was you diagnosed with it?
18 months ago now. And initially, talk about stiff upper lip, the consultant said, you have a mass in your kidney. And you thought, oh, that sounded quite benign. And it wasn't until maybe a year had gone by when they actually said, no, it's actually carcinoma. And at that point, it became more real, because then they started talking about the options of having the full kidney removed, or partial kidney removed, or having robotic surgery, or having keyhole surgery. And that was quite a wake-up call for me. So that's when I thought, I really need to, change my whole attitude to life. And adopt a really positive mental attitude and just adopt new things. So my wife's been great with me. We've gone on a healthy diet. I've cut down on, well, I've cut down on virtually everything. Obviously, since I had the cancer diagnosis, I've drunk no alcohol, which was hard yesterday on my birthday. No sweets, no crisps, no junk foods, and smaller portions. That's important. Only eat when I'm hungry. Lots of water for my kidney. And since I've done the challenge, I've lost 18 pounds. And that, I regard that as just a positive, because it's going to help me both with the anaesthetic when I have the operation, but the recovery afterwards.
You said to me earlier about the size of the cancer at the moment and how you're quite upbeat. Can you explain to the listeners where you're at the moment?
Kidney cancer is one of those ones that if it's within the actual kidney itself, then they can actually do something with it. You can cope with one kidney, so they can actually do either a partial or a full nephrectomy, which is to remove the cancer with that part of your kidney. So as long as it's under a 7 centimetre size, and mine's is 5, then they will remove that portion of the kidney, and then once I recover, then fingers crossed, I should make a full recovery.
I just have to say, I'm absolutely amazed. Like, you're going through all this, and like it seems like it's one thing after another in a short time scale, but you're so upbeat.
I've always been like that, and I mean, I've been a teacher for 30 years, and I think that you've got to have a positive mental attitude. You've got to have goals to set yourself, and I always did as a runner. And I've always done charity events, and I've regularly done things for Great Ormond Street and Children with Cancer, but because Macmillan had been so good, that I thought, I'm going to do this for other cancer sufferers, because during lockdown it has been very lonely and very isolating, and it's been difficult to talk to my children and my wife about how I feel, but talking to people on the phone from Macmillan, that's been a great help.
That's brilliant. So at least you've had some support. But talking about the lockdown itself, it's been a year, so you've had a year of dealing with the wheelchair, dealing with the cancer, your health is, and you're battling your way. You've got so many battles. What really does keep you going?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I remember, because I always attribute a lot of things back to when I was an ultra runner, because after a few years of running marathons, decided that wasn't good enough for me. So I've done 24-hour runs. I've run London to Brighton. I've run Hadrian's Wall, and what I discovered, we always talked about hitting the wall, which was this mythical thing after about 20 miles in a marathon. I discovered in ultra running that it doesn't exist, and that your energy comes in cycles, and that when you hit that first one at 20, you recycle from somewhere inside, and you just find the strength and the power to keep going. And I've run 100k without stopping. That's been probably my proudest running achievement when I was up in Nottingham. I did that in about 10 hours, and I just discovered that if you put your mind to it, and that's the key, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything you want. And I've just applied that to cancer, and I've applied it to my fitness, and I've applied it. I mean, this wheelchair, as I say, seeing you going around the race course in an hour made me determined that I was going to. I mean, if I just thought, well, if you can do it and Carol can do it, by God, I'm gonna get there.
For those that don't know, if you check my YouTube of Step Forward Lewis, Carol challenged me to go around the racecourse park run in Northampton and do the whole route in a wheelchair, and I did it in 1 hour 7 minutes, but boy was it tough. It really was tough, so I know the challenges you're facing.
But you have my total admiration, though, for that. And I think you're a kindred spirit. I've looked at all the mad things that you and your friends do. And it's one of those things that, I'm on a kind of limbo here with waiting for the operation and knowing that I'm going to be then out of circulation while I get, recover. I'm really desperate to, join in with community things and, join with some of the things that you and, your colleagues do and things that Macmillan are doing. I'd really love to, get involved with Macmillan in some way, because I know that in Northampton, my experience is that, there's a gap. There is a gap there, because when I was promoting my own event, there was nobody in Northampton I could turn to, and nobody to share the experiences with. So, when I finished yesterday, I kind of finished it, alone, which I think was a shame. So, having somebody there, giving you that encouragement, I think would be useful.
Right, listeners, and those in Northampton, you've heard this here, where we're weak and we need to sort this out and we need to support Alan here. So let's get together and sort something out for him. Round this off, Alan, what was your favourite race running?
London to Brighton, and I'll tell you why. It was done under the auspices of the old Amateur Athletic Association, which was made up of wing commanders and retired colonels at that time, and you had to do a qualifying time, and that was when I first knew I could do ultra runs, because they said you had to run 30 miles in under 4 hours, and I did this race down in Coulston, and I did it in 3 hours 50, and the feeling was amazing. And then when I did the London to Brighton, the cut-off point was 8 hours 15. I got to about 7.5 hours. I had about 5 miles to go. And this wing commander said, "Oh, you're going to have to pull out. You're never going to make it." And I said, "Oh, don't be ridiculous." And when I got to the seafront, 8 hours, 8 hours, 6 minutes, I'd smashed it by 9 minutes. And it was so
wow.
It was so low key as well. There literally was like 3 people there saying, "Well done." And I said, "Well, I've just run from Big Ben and got here." And all you get is a certificate, which I've still got. You don't even get a medal. But, now that race has been cancelled, because you can do it cross-country now, but you can't actually run on the roads down the A23. Nobody can take that away from me.
Yeah.
And I was running with the ultra elite at that time, and it was great. I mean, on the train going down, I was talking to a guy that was running ultra runs like that in 5.5 hours. And we were like kindred spirits, because we were both doing ultra runs. It was amazing, and just that I missed that camaraderie of, the spirit and the adventure. And I always tried to share that with the runners in my club as well, and always wanted it to be an inspirational social running club, rather a bit like the things that you do, to inspire people.
Yeah, well, Northampton Road Runners, they are one of your biggest supporters. You're all over their Facebook, and everyone always goes on the comments and that. So you have got a large running support.
Oh yeah, and I mean, obviously, when I was the chair, I always made it a point that any new people that came, I would run with them, and I would make sure that nobody got left behind. And no matter how slow you were, I would be with you. And I think one of my proudest moments was when we had 3 ladies who joined us, who wanted to do the Great North Run, who had never run 3 miles. And then I eventually got all 3 of them round the Great North, and I ran with one of them the whole way. And coming up that last bit on the seafront, she was crying. And it's just that feeling of, a journey that, we got there. Those are the kind of memories that, and I think that's why there is a strong feeling of, let's say, support for me.
Would you say this is your opportunity as well to encourage wheelchair racing in Northampton Road Runners? Like, obviously I encourage it with Step Forward Lewis, I've got Carol, but the wheelchair community, it's poor in getting them into sport.
I really hope so, and I hope that once I've had my operation that Carol and I will be able to line up at races like Silverstone, and I'm looking forward to going over to Corby and joining them on a Sunday, and I want to be able to line up with my colleagues from the running club at races where, it is flat enough for me to take part, and to hopefully then encourage and inspire younger people in wheelchairs. Because as I say, as a teacher, I've got the organisational skills to be able to, to try and it may be something that, who knows, it may be something that I take up as a challenge.
So to end this podcast, what would you say to anyone who's thinking of starting running, or in a situation like you where life makes a dramatic change and you do end up in a wheelchair? What's your words to them?
Never give up. Set yourself goals, and then don't be worried if there are any setbacks, because the next day you'll be able to then bounce back. You need that resilience. You need a strong sense of your own well-being and a sense of who you are. So something like running, eventually the rewards of it will outweigh any feelings of anxiety or pain at the start. And we're talking today on a beautiful sunny day. During my challenge, I was out in -6 degrees wind chill, and this is the payback. This is the payback. You get out what you put in, and the only person you're competing with is yourself. That's the important thing.